Okay, my project is ExtendVR. It's a VR alternative to the expensive Vive and Rift and Quest systems, and it uses your phone. So basically, the Oculus Quest came out. That was pretty good, but it used phone level hardware kind of thing. So I was like, wait, if Oculus Quest can do it on a phone level hardware, why do you have to buy specialist Oculus Quest hardware to make VR? So I decided I would make ExtendVR, which is a alternative to these VR solutions, and it uses WebVR to run a VR environment. I've managed to achieve both 2-axis positional and 3-axis rotational controller tracking. To start it, you go onto an app on your phone. In my case, it's called Camera 2 Test, and you just start that up, and that will start a background tracking process. And then once that's running, you can just navigate to the website you want, and you just have to lock the exposure of your camera phone so it's locked to the light level of the tracking ball. Connect to it via Bluetooth, start the tracking, and then you're away. And then you'll just put your phone in your VR headset and you can walk around the VR world and use VR without having to buy expensive headsets. All you need is this cheap controller, which is a lot cheaper to make than the existing controllers. And you don't have to buy a headset except for a cheap Google Cardboard headset. This is also good because it's good for the environment, because you're reusing devices multiple times, and good for your bank as well because you're reusing devices multiple times. Because it uses WebVR, you can use all of the apps that other people have made instead of just having to rely on the things I've made, which means there's many more choices. In the controller, there's a MPU 6050 IMU, which detects the rotation of the controller. There's also a Bluetooth module and a custom circuit that I've made which does finger tracking based on the way a moisture sensor works. It uses a similar mechanic to do finger tracking. So I've combined all those things together, and then I've used Bluetooth to send all that information over my phone. There's also a round tracker ball, which has a kind of similar concept to the PSVR controllers, because there's a ball that is then tracked by a camera, in this case your phone camera, so you don't have to buy external cameras, and that tracks where your controller is in 3D space. The IMU tracks the rotation, whereas the camera and the tracking ball tracks your position. You have to start an app on your phone before you start using VR. That app does all the vision tracking processing, which means that it's one less thing that the JavaScript web page has to handle, and the web page just makes requests to your app for a local host HTTP server to get tracking information, and that way I have access to lock the exposure so that I get the perfect exposure to see the tracking without having to worry about other things, whereas the camera API doesn't let me do that in the web browser. This isn't completely done yet. To improve it more, I'm hoping to improve the performance of the position tracking, which will make the experience more immersive. Currently I don't have a battery on it, it's just plugged into my computer for power, just because I just haven't got around to it yet. So I'm going to add a lithium battery. I'm going to make a Chrome extension so it'll automatically insert the desired scripts into a WebVR page so that it is compatible with ExtendVR. It's pretty cool that this has finger tracking, which is usually a luxury. You have to pay the highest end VR systems to get finger tracking, so it's cool to bring that to the low end VR because it makes your VR experience much more immersive. You can interact with objects in VR. To make this, I had to learn everything from JavaScript in the web browser and how the web browser and web APIs work, to networking to talk between the Android app and the web browser. I had to learn how to make Android apps so that I could do the tracking and figure out how to use the Camera 2 API, whereas I hadn't used that stuff before, so I had to, as well as make custom electronics hardware and program the Arduino to read from that custom hardware and the IMU, and I had to combine all this together into one project to be able to make this immersive experience, so it covers a whole spectrum of programming and electronics as well.